So, like what Danton has said, I think in this session we'll crack all important numbers for incidence rates within the flux study. So with these rates, we can project what's likely to happen in the near future, which is critical to help sort of planning service needs years ahead. So one of the key indicators of the success of any cohort studies is the retention rate. And as we can see from this table over here, so in baseline, we recruited a total of 1,710 men. And in 6-month interview, so we managed to retain nearly 80% of them in 1 year. So still, above 60% returned. So to compare with the HIM study, I think we ran in the early noughties. In 1 year, we managed to retain about 80%. But in the HIM study, we have a village of paper to interview the man and validate the questionnaire, and so that's quite a remarkable achievement with the flux study, I think. So which is under the auspice of the FAME system, which is invented ingeniously by Mar. So to talk, in this talk, I'm going to examine the incidence rates and the cessation rates using the 12-month follow-up data. So for the definition, for initiation, we are looking at we are comparing both baseline and follow-up. If one man for one particular drug, it was reported as never used at baseline and reported any use in the last 6 months at the other 6 or 12-month follow-up. So that's defined as the incident case. And for cessation, similarly, so for somebody who used this drug at baseline at who reported using in the last 6 months at baseline, they stopped using at either the 6-month or 12-month follow-up. So that's defined as a cessation case. So, as a relatively young cohort, I think we can find things that pick up quite quickly for amyl and marijuana in our cohort. So for amyl, about 10% of the men they started using in a year, and for marijuana, I think the incidence rate is about 7% each year. And for party drugs, the ecstasy and cocaine had the highest incidence rates, and that's followed by crystal meth. I think the incidence rate for crystal meth is about 3% each year in our cohort. And not surprisingly, I think young men they like to experiment things. For almost all the drugs, I think the incidence rate is the highest amongst the youngest age group. That's aged under 25. So, for example, as you can see for amyl, I think the incidence rate in this age group is about 17% each year. That's a very fast rate, and that's followed by marijuana. And that to bring up some maps here. And for crystal meth, so that's a red line with a plus, and we can see for our younger men in the flux studies are just under 4% each year, and there is a blip in the oldest men as well in our cohort, so that's not far behind. Also, we noticed a blip, I think, for marijuana use. That's right, in men aged between 31 and 40, and we don't know why. It could be just a coincidence. And as we alluded to, I think in the morning session, most of men they use those drugs occasionally. So it's not surprising. I think we are seeing a very high cessation rate. We are seeing very high cessation rates as well in our cohort. So with only 12 months of data, we are not sure what this means. It could be just it could just reflect the intermittent use, the nature of these drugs in our cohort. So that with longer follow-up, we might be able to tease out what the cessation patterns are like, how long the cessations last, and what might be the drivers for the reason for stop using. So this kind of, with currently the 12 months follow-up data, we can see, I think, sort of for speed and LSD, then sort of for special K, I think they are dropping off the radar quite sort of rapidly. And for amyl and marijuana, those popular drugs, I think, once you started, it's not likely, I think, they are going to go quickly, so that they tend to stay with you for some time. And also in comparison with crystal, we can see over here, so the cessation rate for crystal, I think it's about 30% as well. So it's a bit lower compared with other drugs. So it's on a similar scale with amyl and marijuana. So compared with other party drugs, and we can see over here, I think crystal meth is not likely to go. And then again, sort of broken down by the age groups, and we can see sort of the things are happening quite quickly with sort of the two ends in both of very young men and sort of older men in our study. And because, as I said before, I think young men, they like to experiment things, so it's not surprising sort of they can pick up and drop off sort of quite quickly on these drugs. And in older men, so that we need to find out more, I think, about the reasons why they stopped using these drugs. And as I said before, sort of for almost all age groups, sort of amyl and the marijuana, once you started, I think they tend to stick with you for some time. And for crystal meth as well, sort of they tend to sort of have lower sort of cessation rate compared with other party drugs. So in conclusion, so the drug initiation sort of that happened quite rapidly in our younger sort of gay men in the study, and crystal meth, I think initiation will be sort of in contrast to the myth, as sort of the initiation rate is relatively slow. It's about 3% each year. And cessation is a quite sort of common phenomenon amongst the drug users in the FLUX study. And they tend to be higher in older men as well as in younger men. And marijuana and amyl use, sort of use it likely tend to be sort of continuous across all the age groups we investigated. Thanks.